Thank you so much for being here with us again on Friday morning for our Friday morning media briefing. My name is Elisa Olson, and I'm the Communications Director here at the City of Corpus Christi. We have some important updates for you on things that are moving forward in our water supply initiatives, and we want to make sure that you, the media, have the most up-to-date and accurate information directly from the source in the City of Corpus Christi. Today, we will start with a brief presentation outlining the key developments and next steps by our city manager. Immediately following the remarks, we'll have a Spanish summary by our senior PIO, Gabby Morrow. And then after that, we'll open up the questions to media so that you can ask your questions. And with that, please allow me to introduce City Manager Peter Zanoni.
And good morning, everyone. Thank you, Elisa, for that introduction. As Elisa said, I am Peter Zanoni, the City Manager for the City of Corpus Christi, and also representing Corpus Christi Water here this morning. We want to thank the media for being here this morning, for helping to keep our region informed on our water situation. This is an important topic that impacts and affects families and businesses and our industrial sector that's here as well. I did want to point out for those listening or watching online, we do have several of our local media outlets here in person, and we want to thank them for being here. That includes KIII TV, that includes Chris 6. We do have the Port Aransas South Jetty is here, and we also have Aaron Scafidi News. Did I pronounce that right? Okay. Aaron Scafidi News is here as well. We want to thank those that are listening online. We know some of our other local news outlets like the Caller Times is listening online, as are many other outlets here locally and across the state. And then for residents listening online, we want to thank them as well for listening. This is broadcast live on the city's social media channels, and it's also being recorded, and so if you don't get a chance to see it live, you can also watch the recording. So the purpose of these briefings is to make sure the region has the best information on our water supply, on projects that we're working on to advance even more supply, and on what's coming up next week in particular. So let me just start by saying we continue to build on the progress that we shared last week. This week we continue to build on that. We're bringing additional water online, and we brought even more online this week. And we're continuing to coordinate with the region. We had several regional meetings this week, and there's more planned for next week. So those are the three main things that we're focused on for these next several weeks, which is bringing more water supply on, making sure our projects are moving forward to be able to do that, and then continuing to collaborate with the region. We have a big region that we service, Corpus Christi Water does. We serve 500,000 people in 7 different counties across our region. So not just Nueces County, where Corpus Christi is, but 6 additional counties as well rely on Corpus Christi Water for water. So let's begin on updating you on some of the key things that took place this week, and starting with our groundwater projects in Nueces County. We know we have groundwater projects in Nueces County and San Patricio County, but I'll start with the Nueces County. And in Nueces County, we have 3 groundwater well fields or groundwater projects. That includes our eastern groundwater site, our western, and what we call ERF, or Ed Rochelle Foundation groundwater project. So our eastern well field today is producing about 4.4 million gallons of water. And we know, and I'll say it again here, that's about half what we could produce out of the 8 wells that are there. But because of a TCEQ water quality management plan that we agreed to, we can only produce about, or discharge into the river for conveyance, about half the full amount, which is 10 million. So we're transferring about 4.4 million today. This week, though, we did meet with TCEQ again to further explain the need to see if we can get a variance in that management plan to be able to discharge the full amount. The water quality in the river is impacted by the discharges coming out of Lake Corpus Christi and Choke Canyon. As the pool of water gets lower, we're seeing the water quality is getting worse. It's degrading. And so that has an impact on the river. And when we discharge the clear water out of the wells, we can't stay within the management plan on what they call total dissolved solids, because really it's a combination of both, but a big contributing factor is the degradation of the water coming out of the reservoirs down the river. In our western groundwater well field, that's a 250-acre site, we're working to construct 12 wells there, and we have 4 to 5 nearly complete. This week we brought on nearly complete in terms of drilling, and so once the well's drilled, then you have to put the pumps in and test and bring electricity. So this week we brought a third well on completely, and so as of yesterday, today, we're producing about 6 million gallons out of that well field. So the combined discharge into the river, which is the conveyance system, with our western well field and the eastern well field, is 10 million gallons of water. The ultimate discharge between those two and the third one I'll talk to you about, the ERF project, will be a total of let's see, 37, right? 36 million gallons. So the math is 10 million plus 17 plus 9, 36 million. So while 10 million is not 36, it is 30 to 45 days sooner than what we anticipated, thanks to Governor Abbott and our local legislative delegation. They allowed us to begin, they allowed us to get the permit, I should say, to begin on the western well field. So that's good news, and we'll continue to bring more on week by week. Each week, we'll probably be seeing another well from our western well field coming online. With respect to that ERF well field, or Ed Rochelle property, the city bought the water rights from the property, not the ranch itself. It's a 2,300 acre or so ranch, but the city, through city council, bought the water rights, and at a price tag of $28 million. 38, was it 38? 28 million. But we haven't closed on the water rights agreement yet. There's a lot of due diligence that's required, akin to a title search and survey. So what we may do next week is try to do a short-term lease of those water rights so we can begin more of the permitting and more of the work there on that site. So that's our Nueces groundwater projects. Let's turn our focus now to the groundwater project in the nearby or adjacent county, known as San Patricio County, and that project is known as the Evangeline Groundwater Project. That project's on a 22,000 ranch, 22,000 acres in nearby San Patricio County. So some work has happened this week that's new that you may have caught, and if not, we're going to tell you it today here at this briefing. One is that we are in the process of trying to get drilling and transfer or transportation permits. There are 3 protestants that protested those permit applications, and through the required process of having a hearing to see if the protestants have any what they call standing, we needed the judge, an administrative law judge selected, and we needed the date for a hearing, and now we have that. So this week, the judge was announced, Judge Alicia York, and we have the hearing date as well. And I'm trying to see if it's on here. I don't see it here, but the hearing date is set as well for, oh, here it is, I'm sorry. So the hearing date is set for Tuesday, April 28th, so about a month from now, and it'll be from 1 to 5 in the afternoon. Right now, it's a Zoom meeting only, but Judge York may have an in-person, and that's to be determined or to be selected. So the good thing there is we have an administrative law judge that the district, the Groundwater Conservation District, selected, and we have a date for the hearing. That'll determine whether or not the protestants have standing on the drilling and transfer permits. We already have the production permit, which of the 3 permits is the toughest one to get. That was acquired 6 years ago. And so we'll go through this process to see if they have standing. Also, this week kind of wraps up the design at 60%. And so that project is 60% design. Pape Dawson is our engineer of record, and they've done tremendous work on advancing the design, 60% design. Even more exciting, today at the ranch will be the first delivery of piping that will be used to connect the well field, all the different pumps, all the different wells at the well field. There'll be a total of 24 wells on this site, groundwater wells. The project will take about 30 miles of pipe to connect all the wells and then connect it to a holding tank and ultimately to the Mary Roads pipeline. So today at the ranch, and I'm going to go up there to see it, today at the ranch we're expecting delivery of 600 feet of piping. And this is 48-inch, they call it HDPE, but high-density polyethylene pipe that'll be delivered. And those deliveries will continue. You're going to see it from the highway. That's why we're telling you, because people will say, what's all this pipe for? And it's for our project. And so by the end of July, a few months from now, 90% of the pipe will be in. And it will be delivered on site, and much of it will be in the ground by July. This pipe, which is important to point out, is made in America, made in the United States. It's made in South Carolina specifically for this project. It's not off-the-shelf piping. It's custom-made to fit the design of this project. So this is a big milestone. We know City Council has approved about $400 million for design and construction services, and that includes materials like the pipe that will show up today. Okay, so those are our groundwater projects. We're going to turn now to our desalination projects. These projects here that I'm going to talk to you about won't get us out of this drought. They're longer term, anywhere from 1 to 3 to 5 or more years. But one update that happened this week that was covered in the media and that you saw here if you watched City Council was a potential business deal at Corpus Christi Polymers. CC Polymers is a polymer or plastics manufacturing facility on our ship channel on the far extreme of the ship channel. It's owned by 3 companies, but the plant itself, and as well as a supporting water supply source, a desalination facility, was never finished out by the company, and it's anywhere from, I've heard 80% to 90% for the desal facility, but both the plant itself, the plastics plant, and the desal facility need to be finished out. There's been numerous business iterations of how could we get water from the desal facility that's there, and a new one came to us recently, which is a company called Aquatech. They've reached an agreement with Corpus Christi Polymers to be able to operate the desalination facility there and then sell water to the city of Corpus Christi while the plant is being finished out. So that could be a 1 to 2 year time frame. And so City Council this week approved city staff to work with Aquatech. Aquatech is a desalination builder. They're a technology processor, they call them. And so they make filters and other technologies to do either brackish desal or seawater desal. So we'll be working with Aquatech to develop a contract that would be for the city, or Corpus Christi Water, I should say, would be a take-or-pay contract. And so the city wouldn't have to spend any capital outlay. We wouldn't have to issue any debt for this project. Aquatech would be doing the finish out of the plant, would run the plant. We would have a take-or-pay contract initially for a little over 9 million gallons. And then after they do a phase 2 expansion, it could grow to 14 million gallons of seawater that we would purchase through them. So between now and say the next 90 days, we'll be working with Aquatech to develop a take-or-pay contract that's favorable to our ratepayers. Aquatech has guaranteed to us that the initial price, all in, with nothing else that has to be added, is $7.50 for every 1,000 gallons, which is a decent price for seawater desalination. And we'll continue to negotiate with them and bring something back to City Council. So we know about the other 3. We have other 3 desalination projects. I'll just give you a quick update on them. We have Harbor Island, Barney Davis location, and then the city's Inner Harbor. So the Harbor Island project that is being managed and overseen by our partners at the Nueces River Authority with John Byram. This week they had a forum that was hosted by Port Aransas, Aransas Pass Chamber of Commerce, where John Byram gave the audience there an update. And so that project's moving forward. They have already approved contracts for conveyance, construction, design and construction services. And soon, in the coming weeks, they're going to pick the partner who would design, build, and operate the facility there. I believe through their request for proposal process, they received 4 to 5 proposals. And John Byron will be providing, we're going to actually ask him to come into City Council to provide an update to the City Council. The city is a customer and a partner of this project. I recommended and City Council approved a 50 million gallon a day reservation of water when the plant comes online. So we have access to be able to buy 50 million gallons. We put a $2.7 million deposit or down payment on that. And so it's important we know what's happening with this project. So John Byram and the Nueces River Authority and the board, the Nueces River Authority board will select a design build operator, and really in the next couple of weeks. And so that's going to be exciting for that project. The Barney Davis power plant, which is a power plant here in Corpus Christi, along the Laguna Madre, kind of on our south side. It is owned by Corpus Christi, not Corpus Christi, sorry. It is owned by CPS, City Public Service Electricity in San Antonio. And that location, when it was owned by a prior energy company, was a location that many here locally thought would be an ideal site for a desalination facility because of its proximity to the Gulf, its proximity to existing permits where there's an intake structure to bring water in to cool the power plant. And so recently, City Council agreed here in our council meeting to allow staff to enter into negotiations with the CPS Energy CEO, Rui, on Monday, this coming Monday, the CPS Board of Directors will discuss with Rudy Garza their desire to reciprocate and have both entities talk about, is there a business potential here where we could enter into an agreement to have another take-or-pay contract. So that's an important step, a lot of background information, but again, the summary is this coming Monday at the CPS Energy and San Antonio Board of Directors meeting in executive session. If you look at their agenda, you won't see Barney Davis or Desal, but it's on their executive session. They're going to discuss this in executive session, and then we'll expect to hear from Rudy mid next week. He and I were in touch with each other this week, and he confirmed those steps. So those are our three other projects in terms of desal. We talked about CC Polymers, but we got Harbor Island, Inner Harbor, and then the Barney Davis site. So now let's talk a little bit about regional management. And as I said in the beginning, the city of Corpus Christi Water is a regional water provider. Some cities that may be listening are probably more used to having one water supply entity supplying water to one city or community. We're one entity called Corpus Christi Water, but we provide water to over 20 communities in 7 different counties. And so regional cooperation and collaboration is important. We've made regional engagement a priority. And this week we had a great town hall in the town of Odom, which is in San Patricio County, not too far from Corpus Christi. I do want to thank personally Mayor Maldonado and a team of his that helped arrange a town hall meeting. We had Councilmember Jesse Falcone was there, Councilmember Becky Veet was there, Commissioner Ruben Gonzalez from the county was there, and the City Administrator Lisa Hernandez, and then from San Patricio County, the Government Affairs Director Chris Dorsey were there, and also there was the community. And we had just a real good dialogue. We helped to answer questions they had. It was a great example of how a community engagement session should go, nice and calm and genuine, and we shared great information, and they were pleased. And so that was in Odom. So we're going to continue to do these over the coming weeks and months. We're working on scheduling a town hall or conversations with the mayor of Orange Grove, Mayor Serp, and their administrator Todd Wright. And we're also working to reconnect with Three Rivers with their mayor, Mayor Martinez, and City Administrator Thomas Salazar. We're hoping to get back up there next week. And then also in the coming weeks, we'll be presenting to city councils. We're scheduling those now in the cities and towns of Rockport, Portland, and Taft as well, right? So those are coming up. So the meeting that we had in Odom, we want to thank the media for being there. I think KIII was there and others covered it. I think Chris Six covered it as well. But that was a good example of how we need to collaborate and communicate and work as a community, especially in a time like this. And so that's just a great example. So speaking of that, what I do want to do before I close here is talk about Three Rivers, because we do need to re-engage with them to make sure everybody's on the same page. Right now, we're not. And so today I want to make sure this community that's listening does have the best information on Three Rivers. And so there was some information that came out earlier this week on Three Rivers, and it was covered statewide, I believe, by local media outlets. But I don't know if everybody had the best information or the correct facts. So Three Rivers is a community north of here, north of Corpus Christi. They are not a customer of Corpus Christi Water. They don't buy water from us. We don't run their system. They're a wholly and independent water system at that city of Three Rivers. What they do have is run of the river or access to Choke Canyon water by longstanding agreements. And so the river that was impounded to create the Choke Canyon is Frio River, and the city of Three Rivers has 2% run-of-river rights that's guaranteed to them through the state. And then the city has the remaining 98%. And so that's what Three Rivers has. So Three Rivers independently should manage their water supply, and they should understand how much water they have left, just like we do on our 98%. They should understand water quality. They should understand what to have ready in case they need a contingency plan, in case the reservoir depletes. And so we're going to continue to help them to make sure they have that, because the city, I did go up there recently. I think the first city manager, they said to have gone up there maybe in forever, but I did go up there just to make sure as a good neighbor they had everything in good order. And I'm going to go back up again with Nick, our Corpus Christi Water COO, because we want to help them make sure they, if nothing else, have good peer review of what they're doing. So they have to manage their water system, right? They run and manage their water system. They have access to water. They're not a customer of the city. They don't buy it from us. One thing that was said is that the city made these drastic changes that are going to deplete their water supply, and that's not true. It's not accurate. The only change we've made up there in Choke Canyon was 15 months ago, and that was to help out Three Rivers because their intake structure now is too high given the level of the water to be able to draw water in. And so working with us, we agreed to discharge more water through the dam system, and they're picking it up along the river after the impoundment, after the dam. And so the only change we made was 15 months ago, where we changed the release rate from 29 cubic feet a second to 33, so that the difference would be able to be picked up by Three Rivers. So that's the only change. So the headlines, I think, were a little off this week, where the city was taking their water and causing a big change that was going to deplete their reservoir sooner than what they anticipated. That's not the case at all. And I just want to clear that up, and then we'll be going up there again this week. What we need is conversations with them and the community, much to what we saw in Odom this week. That's a much better model. Okay, so we just want to also, before I talk about the week ahead and close, just make sure the public and the media, we know the local media understands this, but we because of the situation that we have national and statewide media outlets covering stories, but what we're seeing is that sometimes they're just copying and pasting what a syndicate may have written without checking with us for facts. And so I just want to make sure everybody's aware that we do have a communications department here in the city, and Elisa Olson, who opened up our forum today, is our communications director, and she has a team whose job it is to provide good information to media outlets that need it. And you can reach out to us directly at our website, and you probably have phone numbers as well, but it's communications department at corpuschristitx.gov. So for a national outlet that says, I don't know anything about Corpus, I don't know who Peter is, but before you run a story based on somebody else's information, reach out to us first if you could. And again, it's communications department at corpuschristitx.gov. So that'll be helpful to make sure the nation and Texas at a minimum has good information when you read or watch the news on our story here. Okay, so let's close out here with the week ahead. As we promised, these briefings are meant to recap and make sure the community has best information and then talk about what's coming next. So there is a very important meeting coming up this Tuesday. It'll be in this chambers here with the City Council. of Corpus Christi. We're considering it a workshop, and it'll be at least 4 hours. So right now we have it scheduled from 10 to 2. It'll be one of many workshops with the City Council to talk about what nobody wants to talk about, but that is if we have a supply-demand gap, if there's a shortage in supply that can't meet demand, what do we do? And we know what to do. We have a plan. But there's numerous policy issues that council needs to be aware of, the community needs to be aware of. There's going to be some votes that City Council is going to have to take on things like reduction amounts, targeted reduction amounts, on fee changes, on rate for water changes. And so this workshop, this Tuesday, will be one of many. We have about 3 to 4 big ticket items we'll be talking to the City Council about, which will include a reminder of what is in our City Council approved drought management plan. That's the governing document that helps us manage water at all stages. We'll also be talking about curtailment. What does that mean, and what are some ranges of curtailment? And how does a big user, like some of our industrial partners, what would be their percentages versus a residential family? We're also going to be talking about surcharges, also also known, or more simply known as rate adjustments, to try to drive down consumption with economics, with having slightly higher water rates. And then we're also going to talk about new meter taps. That's been a big topic that many of our local media outlets here have covered. And so state law recently changed how cities and water providers can change the new meters, new water meters. And so it's not as easy anymore as just saying we're going to prohibit all new water meters. There's a complex set of requirements if a city or a community wants to do that. And we're not sure if we're going to do that. Right now, there's no indication we are going to do that, but we're going to talk to City Council about what would we have to do if the City Council chose to prohibit new meter taps, and so that'll be something that will be discussed as well. Also, just coming up actually today is another Water Conservation Committee meeting, and so we have 2 committees that the City Council, City Manager set up. One is on updating our water conservation plan. We have a plan, we've had it for many years, but it needed to be updated, and so there's a committee meeting on the 6th floor of City Hall. That is open to the public and is broadcast live on YouTube. That's today around 11:30, I think. 11 o'clock. And that's also broadcast live on YouTube. So that is a community-led panel of 18 individuals, and they're helping to update our conservation plan. And then next Friday, we have another committee meeting of 19 representatives from the area appointed by the City Council and the City Manager, and that is our Far Field Modeling Committee, and they'll have another meeting. They've had several. They've been real good. Those meetings are open to the public. They are broadcast live and recorded, and so you can see those. You can see those if you can't attend or see it live. So next Friday on the 6th floor, I think that one's at 12, right? 11 o'clock? Okay. That'll be a meeting coming up. So those are the events for next week. So there'll be maybe 2 town halls next week, one in Orange Grove, not town halls, sorry, 2 collaboration meetings with the mayors and administrators, one in Orange Grove, one in 3 Rivers. We have 2 committee meetings, one today, one next Friday, and then probably the most important is that workshop with City Council. That is open to the public, and it will be broadcast live, and I do encourage those that are interested in this topic to either watch it live or come in here and watch it, or watch some of the recording. Okay, so that took a little bit longer today than last week, but we have about 30 minutes now to take questions from the media that's here. So just let me see, in closing, I think that covers it really. I just want to thank again the media for being here. And, yes, ma'am? Oh, that's right, okay. I do want to thank the media for being here. What we're going to do now is we're going to get a Spanish translation, not of everything I said, but a summary from Gabby, one of our teammates here. So she'll translate a summary of what I just said in Spanish, and then I'll come back over here and we'll see if there's any questions from the media.
A continuación, un resumen. La ciudad de Corpus Christi está diversificando activamente su cartera de recursos hídricos mediante la expansión de aguas subterráneas, la desalinización y proyectos de reutilización de agua. Actualmente, la ciudad está incorporando al sistema 10 millones de galones diarios de agua nueva proveniente de los campos de aguas subterráneas activos y se espera recibir más agua en las próximas semanas. En cuanto a las actualizaciones clave de 2 proyectos, sobre aguas subterráneas, los campos este y el oeste. En el campo este se producen 4.4 millones de galones diarios. El campo oeste acaba de incorporar un nuevo pozo, elevando su total a 6 millones de galones diarios, haciendo así un total de 10 millones de galones en esta área. Se espera añadir un pozo adicional para la próxima semana. Sobre el proyecto Evangeline, se ha programado una audiencia preliminar de legitimación procesal para el 28 de abril. Mientras tanto, hoy llegaron 600 pies de tubería de 48 pulgadas. Este es el primer tramo de las 30 millas de tuberías que se entregarán desde hoy hasta el mes de julio. Este proyecto se espera que tenga un total de 24 pozos. Sobre la desalinización y asociaciones industriales con CC Polymers y Aquatec, la ciudad está negociando un acuerdo de tipo tomar o pagar con Aquatec para potabilizar el agua de mar proveniente de las instalaciones de CC Polymers, lo que podría generar hasta 14 millones de galones de agua diarios. Sobre la desalinización regional, continúan los avances con la planta de Harbor Island de la Autoridad del Río Nueces y en el proyecto Barney Davis en colaboración con CPS Energy de San Antonio. Esta última planta se encuentra en el área de Flower Bluff. En cuanto a información para la comunidad, la ciudad está priorizando la transparencia a través de recientes reuniones comunitarias, por ejemplo en Orange, como la que tuvimos hace un par de días. Se esperan próximas reuniones comunitarias en Orange Grove, Taft y en otras áreas de nuestra región. El lanzamiento de 2 nuevas series de videos semanales, una educativa y otra enfocada en redes sociales. Queremos también tener una aclaración sobre la situación de la población de Three Rivers. Three Rivers no es cliente del servicio de agua de Corpus Christi. En cuanto al embalse de Chow Canyon, la ciudad ha aumentado las descargas de agua. La ciudad de Corpus Christi está haciendo lo posible por ayudar a esa comunidad a pesar de que no sea nuestro cliente. Parte de esa ayuda es entregando de 29 a 33 pies cúbicos por segundo de agua durante los últimos 15 meses para poder asistir así a su infraestructura. Las próximas fechas importantes que tenemos, el 31 de marzo se llevará a cabo un taller del Consejo Municipal sobre la emergencia hídrica del nivel 1 en caso de llegar a esa etapa. También se va a discutir la reducción del uso de agua, ajustes de tarifas, así como la operación de los nuevos medidores de agua. El 3 de abril va a haber una reunión del comité sobre el modelado de Fairfield. El próximo viernes llevaremos a cabo otra conferencia de prensa a las 10 de la mañana, también transmitida durante el canal YouTube de la ciudad de Corpus Christi.
Okay, thank you, Gabby. Okay, so at this point, we're going to open up for media questions. I think Michael Gibson, unless anybody wants to go first, had some. Gibson, you want to go first?
Sure, yes,
Okay.
sir, that'll be fine. What's going on with the La Quinta Channel Desal plant project right now? What permits or plans do you have that are completed, or what's to be done?
Right, yeah, so Michael Gibson from KIII is asking about another location where the city looked at, or has done work, I should say, for another desal facility, and that's called the La Quinta Channel. It's a ship channel, man-made here in around the Corpus Christi Bay, closer to Portland and what is it, Ingleside? Yeah, in the county there. But so the city hasn't done much work on that of late. We applied for TCQ permits, both intake and discharge, about 5-6 years ago. And we did receive the intake permit, and we're working on the discharge permit. That's about the extent of any work that's been going on there. It's somewhat on hold. We're mindful of the concerns of a desal facility discharging into the bay. And so until we get the results of the Farfield study that's underway right now, we've kind of put that project on pause. There has been some interest on acquiring the permits from San Patricio Water District, and we need to go through that conversation with the City Council.
Evangeline could drag on through the courts for probably up to 3 years. You seem to be confident that the project's going to move forward sooner than later, because you're already moving in equipment, you're already doing all these things.
Right.
What is the confidence based on?
The confidence is based on the need to keep this region, and especially that county where there's a lot of petrochemical water users, out of curtailment. And so the only thing, as I told City Council 2 Tuesdays ago, the only thing that will keep us out of curtailment, short of a rain event, is the Evangeline project, and we hope that San Patricio County and the protestants understand that. That is a much-needed water project that has been talked about for 40 years at a minimum, and especially the last 15, a local rancher told us recently. And so we have got to do that project. It's fully permitted for production. And so the Groundwater Conservation District there twice, not just once, but twice over the past 6 years, approved the production permit, meaning they had confidence that the well field, the groundwater below, the reservoir, the aquifer, I should say, has enough capacity to produce 24 million gallons of water a day. They agreed to that. And that's why they approved the production permit twice. So we're going to move forward. We told council it's a calculated financial risk. We think it's not a question of if, but when. And we're working with the district on things like emergency temporary permits. We're trying to reach out to the city of Sinton, but they really won't communicate with us. But we're trying to reach out to the community, like our conversation in Odom just this week. I think the majority of that room of residents who live right in Odom, which is real close to Sinton, said, you guys really need to do that project. And so there's a belief in the region that the water will be beneficial to the region of San Patricio County, who, by the way, the customers there through the city, through Corpus Christi Water, every day receive 40 million gallons of water from us. And that water comes from 4 different counties in Texas, and it does not include San Patricio County. So today, San Patricio County gets about 40 million gallons of water from 4 different counties in East Texas and over here, where we are, and not contributing any to their own customer base. So we think it's a good project. We think the region wants it. We know that the tax base and the job base that's over there, the 40 million gallons of water that happens every day is necessary. An Evangeline project is necessary to keep that water flowing so there's no disruption over there.
And do you think you might be able to clear up that Three Rivers situation just a little bit more? Were you not going to drain all or most of the water from Choke Canyon down into Lake Corpus Christi and then reverse yourself after Three Rivers protested?
No, yeah, so thank you, Michael. So what Michael Gibson's saying from KIII is we have had internally, and we had communications with Three Rivers about options on Choke Canyon. And so one of the options are you just let it slowly deplete or drain or use it as we're doing today. One other option that we've talked about, nobody said we were doing it, we talked about should we drain Choke Canyon into Lake Corpus Christi? Would there be some benefit in water stability and long-term use? Would it give us any more time? And so we had conversations about that, like we should. In an event like this, you want to have as much thought and input and options as available. We never said we were going to do that. Never. Nobody here ever said we're doing this. And so it was conversations that I personally had with their administrator and that our staff has had with their counterparts at Three Rivers. And so it's unfortunate where they may have thought that was going to happen. That's not going to happen. So we are going to slowly use the water in Choke Canyon, our 98%, and they're going to slowly use their 2%. But at some point, if we don't get any rain, that reservoir will deplete to zero. And so my reason for going up to talk to Three Rivers is to say, are you guys going to be all right up here? Because if that drains to zero, what are you going to do? And how can we help you do something? And that was the purpose of the meeting up there that we had. So Three Rivers, they manage their own water system. They have their own water rights. One comment that was made is why didn't we include them in the 3 community regional task force that we have, where the city of Corpus is meeting with Beeville, Alice, and Mathis. So the 4 of us have a partnership. It's actually an interlocal agreement. And the reason is because Three Rivers is not a customer of the city. They don't buy water from us. They don't depend on us for water. And so, but knowing that they're not part of the interlocal agreement with those 3 other entities, I made a point to go up there to talk to them anyway. It's quite a drive, but I made it, and we're going to do it again. And we just want to make sure they're going to be okay. A good example or good parallel is Robstown. So the city of Robstown here in Nueces County, their service through Water Improvement District number 3, and that district is also not a customer of the city. and they don't rely on the city for water. They have their own water rights. But similarly, what we want to do with Three Rivers is we're proactively working with Robstown to the point where they're going to be able to interconnect into our water system if the river depletes to nothing because of the drought. And so that model is what we were using when we went up the Three Rivers to say, hey, even if you're not a customer of the city, even if you don't buy water from the city, we're here to help you because we know this is a regional issue. And that's what we did with Robstown, and it was well welcomed. And we're gonna do the same thing with Three Rivers. We just have a little misunderstanding here, I think, misinformation from this week that was made worse by not local media, but media from across the state who didn't have all the facts. And anyway, we're going to be going back up there next week.
Peter.
Yes, sir.
Drew Bishop, Chris 6 News. If we were to enter into a level 1 water emergency, what steps are being taken to lower the chance of water boils during curtailment?
Right, yeah, so Drew Bishop from Channel 6, from Chris 6. Let's see, just a second here. Okay. So Drew Bishop from Chris 6, the question is, how do we stay out of a water boil if we go into curtailment, right? Okay, so the issue of water boils, TCEQ, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, just like many other regulatory agencies, require water providers to give notice to the community if they need to boil water because the water could have some issue with it. And that issue could be from things like there's a contaminant that gets into the water. Another one that's more applicable to Drew's question is if water pressures in the system drop below a certain percentage, 35 psi, there's a chance that microorganisms could grow in the water and make you sick because the water's not moving. There's not enough pressure to move the water through the system. And so this is a real concern, and it's a good question of Drew, which is that if we don't have enough supply to meet demand, that means the system's not going to have water to put into it, and that means pressures could drop. And that means we may be mandated to do a boil water notice. And so we're working through those issues right now, and we're going to see, because TCEQ requires us to do a boil water notice like quite often if you get into that situation. So we're going to be working with TCEQ to see how can we make an event more easily understood, how can we minimize those issuances. But the fact is that if the system drops pressure, we want to make sure our customers are safe and want to make sure the water's safe. We'll be the first to be up here to say, y'all are going to have to boil the water to drink it at least because we don't want to make people sick. We're not there yet, but it's certainly it's a concern, and that's one that we'll be talking here in one of our workshops with City Council.
And could that affect any rates, projected water or wastewater increases? What would those potentially look like?
Yeah, so what Drew's talking about from Chris 6 is one of the ways to minimize, one of the ways to reduce demand is by increasing the rates in water. And so that's known as surcharges in our drought contingency plan. And so we're going to have that conversation with City Council on Tuesday. Right now, our drought contingency plan that is online has a section on surcharges. And the council, we haven't made a recommendation yet to City Council. But we may recommend, and council will have the choice to approve or not, surcharges or increases in rates to help drive down demand so we can save the remaining water for a prolonged period of time. That's something cities do when you get into this situation. I will say for the homeowner, for the family, it's a real de minimis amount. It's a small amount. So anybody using less than 7,000 gallons, in our typical family, vast majority of our families use about 6,000 gallons a month. Anybody using 7,000 or more, when they buy that next 1,000th gallon of water, it'll be a $4 surcharge on it. So we need to look at it actually because the rate's really not much to drive down consumption. So it would be $4 more for the entire month if you buy more than 7,000 gallons a month. Yeah.
And then I have one more question from our chief meteorologist, Stephanie Glover.
Okay.
She asked, did we ever get an answer as to why Lake Corpus Christi rose? This is the first rise in a long time, and she wants to be able to explain why.
Yeah, I don't, Nick, that question was asked earlier in the week. We don't have the answer still, Drew, so the Texas Water Development Board has a great website that I use every day now, and it shows lake levels our reservoir levels. So in this week, I saw it myself, the reservoir of Lake Corpus Christi went up from like 8.9 to 9.1, 9.2%. So it went up slightly. It may have been from some delayed inflows from a rain event. It could be that we're withdrawing a little bit less because of the groundwater projects that are coming more online. But I don't have the exact answer, so we'll get that for you. Yeah.
Mr. Zanoni, I have 2 questions from Colleen with the Texas Tribune. The first is, the city manager said a 3rd well was brought online this week at the Western well field, but my understanding was that 4 were online last week. Can you clarify, please?
Yeah, I can. So we'll have to be careful of how we describe the well being online or not. So we have 4 wells that are completely drilled. We have more than that, but we have 4 wells that were completed. Last week, not all of the 4 were production ready, and so some of them had test pumps. 3 were online last week, 1 was a test pump, but in this business of constructing and operating things, there was an issue on one of the pumps. So 3 were online, 1 was a test, 1 has an issue. We were with 2 last week, so the one that has an issue still has an issue, and then we're bringing another one on. So this week, there's 3 wells that are fully production, they're in production. Operating all week. The 4th one is not in operation because of a mechanical issue.
Okay, thank you, sir. Her other question is, since you mentioned that water quality at Choke and Lake Corpus Christi is becoming worse, how much less is the city pulling from the reservoirs compared to before?
Right, well, I don't know what time frame compared to before, but for the past several months, we've been pulling about the same amount. That question from Texas Tribune. So it's about 30 to 40 million gallons a day comes out of our Choke Canyon and Lake Corpus Christi. But as the reporter from Texas Tribune points out, the water quality in those 2 reservoirs in our west is worsening. As the water level is lower, the water conditions are worsening. We can see it from our testing of the water. So that includes the salt content, known as TDS, is higher. And so it's discharging pretty high. It's over 1,000 parts when normally, and if it's, has water in there or more water, it's 600 to 800, right? Yeah, so it's 1,100 today. And then worse yet for the community, and this is a conversation that was around a couple weeks ago, is arsenic. And so arsenic is nearly 2 times the amount that's allowed by that's considered safe by regulatory agencies. So arsenic, the measurement is 0.1 is the maximum. Soon the water coming out of that based on modeling will be 0.2. And so despite that, when we do take that minor amount of water, 30 to 40 million, and blend it at our treatment plant with about 70 million from East Texas and our groundwater well projects, the arsenic and the salinity is almost eliminated. And that's proved by, and you can probably find it online, recently TCEQ did a quarterly assessment of our water at the treatment plant. And the one I want to highlight, the reading of arsenic was non-detect. So water coming out of our plant has non-detect traces of arsenic. And that's because, great, and then we meet all federal regulatory and state standards in the water. So the water that we have coming out of the plant is safe and it's high quality. With this Corpus Christi water has a high water quality rating by TCEQ. What does it call? Yeah, we are a superior water rated system. And one of those ratings includes high quality water. So despite the fact that we have a little bit of degradation out of our western reservoirs, that's only 30% of the water. So when you blend it with 70% of better quality, you're in good shape.
Peter.
Yes, sir, Andrew.
Going back to those models that Nick presented a couple weeks ago, you mentioned potentially narrowing those down in the weeks to come. Now with Western Wellfields being operational and Lake Texana curtailment being postponed, what are you looking at as far as those models? Have you narrowed down any of those scenarios and have those new developments narrow those down?
Right, yeah, good. So Drew from Chris 6 is asking, 2 weeks ago or so, we updated what was a 1 supply-demand scenario to have 5 of them. And you may recall the fan that had A through E, and there were 5 scenarios of when supply, how supply matches up with demand. 2 of the models, the worst case scenarios, said that we could call a level 1 water emergency, meaning from 6 months from that point, there's not enough water for demand. 2 of those had a May trigger for this level 1. 2 of them had a October trigger, and then 1 had no trigger at all. Everything would be fine. So we began, the question is, have we updated those, and when are we going to present them again? We began looking at them again this week with our modeler. We use a third-party modeler that does great work in modeling, now that we put in more water from the groundwater project sooner than anticipated, what impact does that have? And then another input, though, that we have to do is the Evangeline project, and it's going to be 30 days out now before we'll know, do the protestants have standing? So that'll be another important thing. And then the other element that'll change a lot of the scenarios is, can we get an exception from TCEQ on the water quality management plan? Because as I mentioned in the beginning, our eastern groundwater field, we're only able to discharge half the amount of water that we could right now today. So we're working with TCEQ. Again, we hope to hear something. So I would say in the next 1 to 4 weeks, we're going to be presenting updated models to the council and the community. Those will help us eventually. As I said, we're going to have to pick one of them to guide the region, but we don't want to make a decision too soon, and so we just need a few more pieces of information from TCEQ, from the administrative law judge process for the Evangeline project, and once we get that, then we'll present some updated charts and pick a scenario. Yes, sir. From Jimmy from the Port Aransas South Jetty. Yeah, right. So Governor Abbott yesterday, as Jimmy mentioned, announced funding from the state to our military installation here. Was it 3.7 million? Yeah, and 2 of the projects. One of the projects was to improve their wastewater collection system. The base has a lot of deferred maintenance, and so that's good news for water quality in the area and managing their wastewater system. Another one was to produce water through atmospheric generation, and that's a concept that has been presented here at City Council before. The military, from what we understand, would use that atmospheric generation water production capability in times of emergency. If there was some type of a disaster, maybe a hurricane or something similar, where there's no water through the normal system, they would turn these atmospheric generating water systems on. The issue with those is that they're very energy intensive. The price per thousand is like off the charts. And so what the base is doing is they're coupling up those generators with solar power. And so if this thing works, and they'll use solar power to generate electricity, and then use these devices to make water out of the atmospheric generating. And it would really be times of emergency. All of the folks that we talk to that's in this business says to produce water from atmospheric generators is very expensive because of the energy requirement. But nonetheless, it's a good pilot. We've talked to the state emergency management unit led by Chief Nimkid, and he'll be interested in seeing how do these perform? How much water can you get? What's the cost? So it'll be a good test pilot. We're thankful for Governor Abbott yet again for investing in our community and caring about our community. Yes, sir.
You recently had a town hall meeting with Odom. Port Aransas is the water district number 4. We draw most of our water from CCW. Are you planning on having a town hall meeting in there or surrounding areas?
Yes, we are. So Port Aransas, the question from Jimmy from Port Aransas South Jetty is Port Aransas, the community of Port Aransas is a customer of the city, and but they do get their water from a water district who buys their water from us on half of their service area, I believe. Recently, I met with the city managers and administrators from the region, and we're going to have another meeting, in fact, coming up. But in that meeting, the mayor was there from Port Aransas, as was their city manager, and they told me they're interested in us coming down there and talking to them, maybe at a city council meeting or some type of town hall. So we're going to set that up. We'll go to that community as well. It's a beautiful area, a high tourist area, and so they're neighbors of ours. Obviously, they're right down there on the Gulf down there. So we'll be setting something up to go visit with them, with their city council, city manager team, and the community also. Yeah. Yes, sir, Drew?
Yes, a question from Rachel Plow.
Okay.
The city originally applied to TCEQ for a permanent bed and banks permit. The permit that was issued is temporary. Does obtaining temporary permit mean the city must file a separate application to obtain a permanent permit? And if so, does the city intend to do that, and on what timeline?
Yeah, great. Thank you, Drew. And so that question's coming in from Rachel Plow, and it's a great question. And so what we call a bed and banks permit is issued by TCEQ, and it allows an entity like Corpus Christi Water to discharge water from a well into the river. And we're doing that for conveyance. So when we discharge up to 26 million or 36 million from all of our well fields and oasis, right now they're conveyed through the river to the treatment plant. So to get a bed and banks permit, you have to apply. There's a process. We initially applied for, as Rachel said, a permanent permit, meaning you could always discharge into the water. Even though in a year or so we'll have a conveyance pipeline and we may not need the permit, but we did apply for a permanent one. But with Governor Abbott's intervention and our local legislative delegation, TCEQ recently gave us a temporary permit, not the permanent one. Just yesterday they informed us that if we want a permanent one, we have to apply all over again for the permanent one. And we're going to do that. We're going to apply all over again for the permanent one, just to have a redundant transport system in the event something happens to our 13-mile pipeline that we'll be building in these coming months. Yes, sir. The process probably to get the full one, it could take months. Yeah, because it'd be a public engagement process if there's persons that have concern. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Going back to the desalination plant, this is kind of just an environmental impact question. How will the concentrated sulfide product from the desalination process be disposed of, and was there been any discussion about safeguards in place to prevent harm to marine ecosystem?
Great, and that is for the Inner Harbor project, Aaron? Okay. So that's Arwen Scafidi, right? Sorry. So Arwen Scafidi from Arwen Scafidi News asked a question for the city's Inner Harbor desalination facility. The plan, the engineering design plan is to intake water from the bay and remove salt from it and make it fresh water. And then a portion of that water that's intake is taken in, is mixed with the brine solution coming out of the process and then discharged back into the bay. So the question is, will that harm the water, and what is the city doing to minimize harm or even understand would there be harm? So we are in the process of doing what we call a far field study. It's essentially a study of modeling that would determine environmental impacts of a 30 million gallon a day desal facility. And we'll have the results in about 30 days, in the end of April, the preliminary results, and then we'll have a final report by mid-June-ish. And so the company is Spheros, and the modeler, Jordan Ferdinand, has done years of modeling in our bay system and understands it well. And so we're going to rely on him and his company to tell us once and for all. I asked for the study as the city manager. And so we're going to know once and for all from a professional expert who has a network of professionals that do this type of work. So a lot of credibility is at stake, and so we're going to get a good answer. I don't know if it's a good answer. We're going to get a professional answer, and so that's going to tell us can we do what we want to do? You know, will there be any harm if we have a desal facility? So that's step one. However, I will say that, you know, there are thousands of desalination facilities across the world, and many of them are in not exactly this type of a bay system, but they're in bays. And recently at City Council, a council member asked, Jordan asked, I guess it was one of our current process technology provider that's modeling that's working to put together a contract for our Inner Harbor. They asked that company, have you and all the plants and all the 90 plants that you have either built or you're running, has there ever been an environmental issue on any of your plants? And Acciona is the company that was answering the question. And they said, no, never. Never has there been an issue from any of the 90 plants that we've either built or currently operating has there ever been an environmental impact issue. I personally toured 2 of the desalination facilities, actually 3 here in America, one in Tampa, Florida, one in Carlsbad, California, and one in Santa Barbara, California. And I will tell you there's extensive marine and aquatic life right at the point of discharge. So from my own eyes, I can see that these plants don't harm water bodies. In fact, in the case of Tampa, they've actually improved it because the water coming out is a little warmer. And so there's tons of manatees and sharks and other aquatic life there. But we live here and we care about our bay, and so the tests will come, the truth will come from this study that does modeling, taking historic data and modeling forward what would happen if you add this project to the bay. And so we'll know that. Thank you. Thank you, Aaron. I think, Gibson, you had one more question, didn't you?
I did.
Okay.
Can you explain how the water rates are going to be affecting folks?
Yeah.
If we use less water, there are rate adjustments to bring that cost back up because the water department needs a certain amount of money to run the water department. So if we conserve water, we're hit. If we need desal, we're hit. We're getting hit no matter what. How much and when does this eventually stop? Is there a total amount of money a month that you could stop at? You know, we got the wastewater and water rates raised $4.78 this year. How much more?
Right. So Michael Gibson from KIII is asking about water rates. And maybe in that question, Michael, there's 2 questions. One, if we did surcharges to drive down use through the pocketbook, what would that look like? And then overall, are our rates going to go up here in Corpus Christi? And I would say overall through the country, water rates are going up because the cheapest water that is out there has already been spoken for. And so as communities grow, like Corpus Christi, like San Antonio, like others in Texas and across the country, new water sources are more expensive than the ones you have today. And water is a utility, and so that the cost for that utility is paid by the ratepayer. So without any doubt, the rates here in Corpus Christi will go up. And that's too complicated of a presentation to do here at this forum, but the rates will go up, and we showed that to our city council about 3 council meetings ago. We had a real detailed set of charts that showed rate impacts from water projects like Evangeline, Desalination, take-or-pay contracts. Our job here at the city is to minimize the rate impacts by being smart about how we run the business, by being efficient, by making sure we're making right choices and not overpaying for take-or-pay contracts for water or issuing too much debt and burdening rates with interest costs, making sure we're well financially managed so that when we do borrow money, our interest rates are low. So that's the summary of it. So rates will most likely, not most likely, well, council has to approve them, but we will be recommending rate increases to pay for these new water supply projects and to run the system. And I think, you know, it's probably a good question to end on, because part of the reason why we're here today and why we're at where we're at is because for too many decades, we didn't have a rate sufficient to build new infrastructure projects. It's real tough for a city council, and it's not the people, it's the position who are closest to the community to tell your community and your neighbor, if I'm a council person, I'm going to increase your rates. Right? It's a tough thing to do. Unfortunately, in the utility business, you have got to increase your revenues to bring on new water supply projects, to invest in infrastructure. A good example of that, I told us last week, it has been 3 decades, 30 years since this city and Corpus Christi Water acquired a new water source. That's too long. 3 decades, 30 plus years. And so if you don't have the money to do that, you can't do it. And that's part of the problem that we're in today. So in the past 7 years I've been here, we've been kind of digging ourselves out of a system that wasn't maintained enough, that didn't have resiliency and redundancy. And we're having to do that even in the rate structure we have today, but in the future, rate increases will help pay for these additional water supply sources and additional infrastructure that's needed, so we're never here again. We don't want to be here, you know, in this position that we're in, and we really need more water than just to meet that daily demand. We need redundancy, resiliency, multiple sources, and we need investments in our infrastructure, and that comes from rates. And so we have to have tough conversations with the council and the community. I would say, and we're going to get the facts, but our rates here in this region are probably the lowest in Texas. It's good to be low, but it's not good to be here at a press briefing talking about level 1 water emergencies. So we have to find that middle ground and be mindful that some might need utility assistance to help pay for the rates, and we're working on that as well. So.
Any word from Congress or the White House on funding coming down?
Nothing yet. So Representative Cloud, U.S. Representative Michael Cloud was here and gave city council members and myself and team briefings on his work at D.C. We hear rumors that the federal government may be making some big announcements, but we haven't heard anything yet, so hopefully soon. We know there's requests in at the federal level to help us out here because our region really keeps the country fueled with jet fuel, diesel, and gasolines, and other petrochemical products that we all use. So, we're 8th largest city here in Texas, but we have a international presence by what our local community does here in that petrochemical industry. So we're hoping that will impact Congress's decisions or the president's decisions. And we know the state is stepping in, and they've helped as well on things like permitting through Governor Abbott, and funding through Representative Denise Villalobos, who helped to get millions of dollars for some of our temporary projects that we're working on today. So I think Lisa's over here edging to come over, so I'm going to conclude the briefing today. We'll be again here next Friday, same time, 10 o'clock. And again, these briefings are very beneficial. We do appreciate the local media for being here and those that are listening in. This is about getting the best information that we can to the region about what's happening here with our water. And I can just close by saying myself and the team, Nick Winkleman's here, all of our Corpus Christi water team and regional partners are working extremely hard to bring on more water supply and keep things moving here in Corpus Christi and in the region. So thank you. Thanks for being here.
Mr. Zanoni. That concludes our session today, so thank you all for your time and your questions, and we really appreciate the media and all you do, those that are here with us today as well as those that are following along online that aren't local here in Corpus Christi. Our next briefing will be next Friday morning in the same location at 10 a.m., and of course we'll live stream that on the city's YouTube channel as we do. If you do need to review today's remarks or share footage, a full recording of this media briefing is available on our YouTube channel. It will be available shortly in just a little while. And if you need to send us questions or inquiries to the communications team, as Peter mentioned, it's communications department at corpuschristitx.gov. In addition, we have a page on the city's website. All of our communications team and public information officers' contact information, direct contact information, including telephone numbers, is available on that website. So we appreciate your help in keeping the public informed, and we hope you have a great morning, and we'll see you next week.